Hey everyone, this is Pathan. So obviously Battlefield 1 is out now, and it's exposing a lot of people to World War 1 in the mainstream way for the first time in a long time. World War 1 is kind of forgotten to some extent, so now Battlefield has brought it to the limelight. What's another way to enjoy these things, or to enjoy things, is through film, through movies. So I've kind of compiled a good list of movies for you to check out if you're interested in the World War 1 aspect and you want to get more into that world. To enhance your Battlefield 1 experience, to have these complementary experiences through film, I've gathered a list of films for you guys to watch, okay? So this isn't a list of the best films in any particular order, but these are ones that I've enjoyed and that I've curated for you guys. And the first one is Flyboys. It actually stars James Franco, and it's a World War I fighter pilot movie. And it captures a lot of great things about the war. It actually has some no man's land bits in it, but it hits on the kind of the chivalry in the sky, which is really cool, and has some good moments. So check that one out. Another one is Beneath Hill 60. It's kind of on a lower budget actually, but it's still a good film. It has really good moments. I believe, if I remember right, it's about an engineering group of Australians in the war, and they tunnel beneath the trenches to blow it up. So it's a pretty good story. Another one is, I'm gonna butcher this, but Joyeux Noel. I think it means Merry Christmas in French, and it is about a front on the war. And when Christmas rolls around, everyone ceases fighting and they kind of hang out. And it's a true story, and it's really fascinating that the way that it goes into that. Another one is Sergeant York. Those who don't know, Sergeant York, he went rampaging, and he killed a ton of Germans. And this is an old film. It definitely has it's very Hollywood and of the time in that regard, so it's not contemporary, but it tells the story of Sergeant York, and it's pretty interesting. Another one, this is probably one of the more modern films. It's very in line with the Band of Brothers kind of feeling of war films, and is Lost Battalion. It was actually a TV movie, but it's still great. It's about American troops, and towards the end of the war, obviously, and they pretty much just are badass and hold off against the Germans, and it's a true story, and there's a lot to learn from this. There's actually something you can take away from this film too for multiplayer gaming, is if you are a thorn in someone's side and you take attention away from where they should be focusing, you can really hurt someone in terms of the competitive nature of multiplayer games. So it's a good film. I think it's one of the easier ones to recommend to everyone, so check that one out. Another one we got is War Horse, actually. So this is probably just as contemporary. It has really good moments, really cool action, high budget stuff. There's some tank stuff in there. Great no man's land. It's probably the most modern, high budget look at the war to date, I would believe. So this probably compares very well to how the Battlefield 1 game looks like. So here we have Pass of Glory. Another good film. It's on the older side, Stanley Kubrick. It's for probably the older people out there watching. Just out of, I don't see any of you 13, 15-year-olds wanting to watch this, but you should. It's pretty much about the French army, and they have an impossible order attacked, and they can't carry it out, and they got to deal with the repercussions of that. And it's about patriotism, and it's interesting because it's one of those movies that takes the David versus Goliath approach, and you're always voting for David, and it's an impossible odds, and you think something may pay off, but it has a really well done ending that is very sobering. It's a great film. It has an opening battle sequence that is very revered. It's very awesome. It was actually filmed in a parking lot, but when you watch it, you would have no idea. You'd think it'd be the French countryside. So that's Path of Glory. Another one, this one's actually fairly recent as well, My Boy Jack. It's about an English soldier. I think he becomes an officer. It's actually played by Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter. One of my favorite things about this movie is that it shows the insignificance of a soldier in the battlefield in the grand scheme of things, but how significant they are somewhere else, I guess, is really the best way to sum that up. I think it's one of the better films on this list that shows what's going on the home front. So that's a good film to check out as well, My Boy Jack. Obviously, no list will be complete without Quiet on the Western Front. Either one, the older one or the newer one I think came out in the 70s. The other one was in the 30s. Pretty classic World War I film. It's about young soldiers and their coming of age in war and the changing of their expectations in war, and it's good. This is Passchendaele. It's a World War I film about Canadian troops, actually, and it shows some really grueling close quarters combat, which you see in Battlefield 1. So I wouldn't be surprised if they got some inspiration for that stuff from this film. Check it out. It's got a kind of a sappy love story mixed in there, but it's got some good moments of just grueling combat and just trench warfare. And then we have Wooden Crosses. This is another one of those really old black and white films, actually made in 1932. but out of all the films here, including War Horse and the Lost Battalion, this has the best battle sequences of any of the films here. And that's really saying something, because this is, what, 1932. So check it out. It's wooden crosses. It's impressive what they did back then with this film. It just blows my mind. And then last but not least is my single favorite film for World War I, which is Gallipoli. It actually stars Mel Gibson on the year that he really blew up. And it's about Australian soldiers and fighting the Turks and the Ottoman Empire, and it's about Gallipoli, which was a terrible battle, like just major disaster. You actually play the mission to some extent in the Battlefield 1 game as a runner. This is the story of that essentially, and it's just so good. It's so poignant. It hits on all the right notes. Out of all the films on this, you need to see this one. I also wanted to throw in Lawrence of Arabia. I've watched it before. It's supposed to be this great film. It just didn't hit me the way I guess it hit everyone else, but that's another one you should check out. Obviously, he has some involvement in the video game as well. Alright guys, so those are just all a bunch of World War I films I recommend. World War I has really cool stories to tell. The war was a waste. It was a terrible war, but there were stories that came out of it, and I think that's what Battlefield said with their war story mode, so I thought that was cool. And there are plenty of films out there. So check those out. Let me know what you thought. Which ones have you seen? And which ones do you also recommend? Thank you for watching, guys. Have a good day.